Well, happy International Women's Day, everyone, and welcome to our meeting with the Minister of Women, Jan Tinetti. Shall I pass over to you? Hi, Liz, can see you now.
Kia ora. Leslie, will you start our meeting for us?
Yeah, sure. He honore, he karoria ki te atua, he mangarongo ki te whenua, he whakaro pai ki ngā tangata katoa, hanga e te atua he ngā kauhau, ki roto ki tina o mātou, whakatongia tō wairua tapu hei āwhina, hei tohi tuhu i a mātou mahi katoa, ko ihu karaiti huki, tō mātou kai whakaora. Āmene.
Āmene.
Āmene. Thank you for
Leslie.
that.
Kia ora koutou katoa and happy International Women's Day to all of us. And how wonderful to celebrate this day with this hui with our Minister for Women, Jan Tinetti. Jan, I'd like to welcome you here today. It's so fabulous that you could put time in your diary for us, especially on a sitting day. We know that is a very busy time for you. For those who haven't met our Minister for Women before, Jan Tinetti is our Minister of Women. She's also our Minister for Internal Affairs and an Associate Minister for Education. Jan comes from a long career in education. She spent 20 years as a principal, and she's a very good friend of the union movement, which is great to have you in Parliament, Jan. She knows firsthand what it's like to work in a sector where most of the workers within it are women, and so she knows what gender inequality looks like. Minister Tinetti was also on the Education and Workforce Select Committee in the last term, so she will have a really good knowledge of the equal pay and equity issues that we're working on. So Jan, it's a privilege to welcome you to this hui. Thank you very much for joining us, and I'll hand over now to my colleague Jocelyn.
Thank you. Well, welcome, Jan. It's great to see you again. We've worked with you before. We've met in Tauranga with a number of home support workers talking about the issues that we face in the sector. But today we meet with a far wider group. So we're meeting with delegates from NZNO, PSA, and ETU, of delegates who work in aged care residential, disability community, disability residential, mental health community, and addictions, and of course home support. So today we'd like to share with you, I think, the work that people do in the sector and the value they add to people's lives that they support, and why the extension of the Care and Support Pay Equity Settlement Act needs to be funded to achieve increased pay rates and maintain the value of the original settlement. So we'd like to hand over to you, I guess, to talk to share with us about valuing women's work before delegates would like to share with you their stories. Thank you.
Kia ora, tēnā koutou katoa, nei te mihi maha, kia tātou katoa e huitahi nei I tēnei rā. Look, thank you for that welcome. Hey Jocelyn, good to see you again. Always good to see you, and it's I miss our meetings in the office, so perhaps when we get out of this stage we could arrange another one. It'd be good to have you and your team back over our way. Look, happy International Women's Day, and both as Minister for Women, a proud feminist and a unionist, I'm really delighted to join with you here today. Some of you may already know this, but International Women's Day originally started as International Working Women's Day. It first started in the US over 100 years ago, and somewhere along the way the word working was dropped off the title. I'd love to see that word coming back, working. Wouldn't it be great to have a day dedicated talking about the realities for working women? It's something that I'm absolutely passionate about and have been for my entire career. And I want to acknowledge the unions that are present here today, as you said, the PSA, NZNO, and my own union, E2. I'm so pleased to meet with care and support workers, and I wish we could speak kanohi ki te kanohi, but you, working with the people who are particularly vulnerable to COVID and at a higher risk of exposure to COVID yourselves, know better than anyone how this pandemic has changed the way that we can connect and work together. But I do want to pay tribute to you. Jocelyn knows this, and some of you, the rest of you here know this. You are amazing. My sister relied upon you for many, many, many years because she's disabled and she worked at home, lived at home, and in about, it would be 6 or 7 years ago now that she went into supported living, but couldn't have been at home for 20 years prior to that, living at home without the care and support workers. And I used to say to her workers, her carers, her wonderful people that came and supported her, that I could not have done that job. I think you are incredible. I just take my hat off to you and the work that you do. So from me, I always take that opportunity when I get to talk to care and support workers to say thank you for everything that you do. So as you heard, I am a unionist. Before becoming a politician, I was a teacher and primary school principal, a proud member of my union NZEI, but given that NZEI isn't a union for politicians, I have moved over to E2. I was not leaving the union movement. And I became a politician because I wanted to make Aotearoa a better and fairer place. And I know what that means. When people can work together, they can achieve incredible things, including fair pay. So I share your values of what it means to work collectively, to work together in a union. And I know you're keen to hear from me about pay equity. I'm also aware that as union members, you are about to renegotiate the pay rates in the Care and Support Pay Equity Settlement Act. And last time you worked together, you campaigned, you got your colleagues to come together, and your success was truly inspiring. And as a result of your campaign, your hard work, your perseverance, pay increases for nearly 65,000 workers in residential aged care, residential home support, disability support, and mental health addictions occurred. Now, I know what you want to talk to me about, and I'm really excited to hear about your stories as well, because those are parts that I can take back to the discussions that we have around the cabinet table. I know that the Act expires on the 1st of July 2022, and the government has accepted your union's arguments for its extension, and it's committed to negotiating increases to the wage rates before its expiry. Now, I'm not the one that's going to be sitting at the table for those negotiations, but I will be supporting your call for ensuring the gains you have already won are maintained. And as Minister for Women, part of my job is to advocate for women around the cabinet table, women exactly like you. I understand that your goals for the negotiations will be to maintain the value of pay rates between 2017, when they were set, and 2022 and beyond, and to extend the Support Workers Pay Equity Settlements Act for another 3 years with negotiated increased pay rates to allow a proper pay equity process to take place, as it has occurred in other parts of the health system. Your goals seem pretty fair and reasonable to me. You absolutely have my support as Minister for Women, as a unionist, and as a woman. And I don't really want to take any more time, because I'm really looking forward to hearing from you. So nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
Thank you, Jan. Very inspirational. Shall we pass over to you, Michelle?
Kia ora minata, Taneti, ko Michelle Cullinan, Troop tōku ingoa. I'm a community support worker. I work in mental health and addictions. I'm part of a team. I'm the kaiarahi that run a respite whare and residential care facility for tangata whaiora with disabilities, addictions, mental health issues. So we provide respite care. So if whānau or carers need somewhere for their tangata to go for a rest, to do the things they need to do, they would come and stay with me, come and stay with myself and our team. Currently, we are facing some pretty big issues at the moment with staffing levels and trying to recruit staff. We've had 5 whare closed, Minister. Where do these tangata go? They've had to be shifted and shunted. We've had to get security teams in to provide care. They're not qualified. Can you imagine what it was like for someone, tangata whaiora, to greet a security guard as their new care support worker? We are in trying times. We've got COVID at our doorstep. I can't go to mahi with the slightest sniffle. If I can't go to mahi, my house is potentially likely to close down. That's not the type of care that we need to be providing for our tangata. So trying to get a well-balanced and representative workforce, a work pool, we need to encourage people to come into this industry. We are dominated by wahine. With that in mind, we are paid like wahine. Let's change this. This needs to change. We need to have, my tangata don't want to see Auntie Michelle caring for them 24/7. They want to see Uncle Hone instead. Let's get some difference, some young people in here. We're not going to get them unless you support the commitment for this pay equity settlement and extending it. Our rōpū that I work for now has got it hard to get good staff. Training is a major issue. Our pay equity settlement came with the guarantee that we were going to be trained. We have people who are not trained. That's not okay. The people I support deserve better. We need this sort of thing followed through and continued. You said confirmation and commitment to training and the negotiations of the Act. We need to have this manataneti. So, you know, I would appreciate it for my tangata and the people that I support, that you support us. Ngā mihi. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Thanks, Michelle, and love your passion. Absolutely love your passion, and thank you for everything that you're doing. Jocelyn, I'm just going to double check with you. You don't want me to comment on everybody, or just
no? It would be great
saying?
if you could, if you could sum up at the end. That would be great.
Awesome.
Just to keep the time. Thanks for that.
Thanks,
I'm just
Michelle.
wondering if we to pass over to Marita from NZNO. Thank you.
Kia ora. Kia ora, everyone. Thank you so much, Jan, for coming in and listening to us today. I am from sunny Dunedin. Yes, it is sunny down here. And it was 28 degrees yesterday. But I'm here for a reason. And the reason why I'm here is because I give a damn. I give a damn about the people I look after. I give a damn about the people that go in to look after these people. I want to see more staff who are trained, recruiting, retaining, because where I work and when I look around, they're of a certain age and a lot of people are getting tired. I'm getting tired. So I would love to see the education side of it looked into, because it was promised, as Michelle said, some training. I'm doing my level 4 at the moment, and to get an assessor is really hard. So we need to work on how that training is going to help the care worker of tomorrow, the HCAs of tomorrow. I've worked in the industry for 14 years, and what the pay equity thing meant to me a few years ago, it paid bills. It put nutritional food on the table for my family. You know, just little things like that. Now what's happened down the track, the living, you know, cost of living is soaring. So, you know, we really need to look at these pay increases. We need to look at the extension of the law is vital to guarantee of annual pay increases to keep up with the cost of living. I love my job. I love it with passion. I love looking after the old people, the queer, the koros, the grandparents. You know, I love this. But we need more people to keep the love, the aroha of New Zealand. We need New Zealand to keep going, and we are the people that are looking after our elders. All I'm asking is that you take away from this meeting that there are a group of people there, women, who are individuals in their own rights, but together as passionate activists advocating for those that don't speak for themselves. Thank you, and thank you for listening to us. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Thank you for that. Shall we pop over to Marianne from Etu?
Marianne Bishop, Etu delegate, and I'm also the CTU rep on International Women's Caucus. So it's nice to see you again today, Jan Tanetti. I saw you this morning on the International Women's Day breakfast. So it's good to see you again. And a couple of things I wrote down from the International Women's Day breakfast speech you gave this morning was about enhancing the economic security for women, the gender pay gap, and the gender equality for women. So those things are dear to our hearts as well, because as people have already expressed, we work in a mainly woman-dominated industry. We like to feel valued for the work that we do. And we all, I'm sure, are in this sector because we love caring for people and caring for people with disabilities or elderly people. I work in residential aged care as an HCA, and before the settlement in 2017, I had worked in the aged care facility I was in for 20 years. And over that 20 years, I reflect back, in 20 years, I got an $8 pay rise over 20 years. In the 2017 settlement, I got $5.50 more an hour, which was almost as much as I got in 20 years. So it was a big difference to my pay. I have raised two teenage sons on my own, and I incurred debt over that time just to survive on a low wage. So the care and support settlement allowed me to pay that debt off and help me support my children and support them into adulthood, and also to save for my retirement, which I do hope to do one day. If one can ever leave the sector, if there's ever enough staff to support the sector. I really love caring for the clients I care for. That's why I've been in the industry for as long as I have, because I've worked in the health industry since I was a teenager. I love listening to the elderly people that I care for, and they have such a wealth of knowledge. My concern is our population is aging and unfortunately requiring more care when they come into care. But I do fully support them being cared in their own homes before they come into aged care. Obviously, our workforce is aging as well. And as somebody else has said, people are getting tired because of the short staffing and everything else. But aside from that, we find it a rewarding career, but we just need more staffing and everything else. If this settlement stops in 2022, this year on the 1st of July, I can see things getting worse. Who's going to look after the clients when the aging workforce leaves and when the clients need so much care? So we would really support, and it's good to hear that you're saying that you will support the extension of the Act, because we need it to go forward. We need the increases in the pay rates and then be reflected by people being allowed to get training, because there has been problems with the training. And carers need to feel supported in their roles. They need to feel like people care, and just like the clients need to feel like they're cared for. And people really do care about their clients. I have to say that I always reflect and say things like, they become part of your family. You think about them when you go home. I know you're not meant to get attached to them and you're not meant to be sad when something happens to them, but when you look after somebody for 5 or 6 years, 40 hours a week, that's probably a lot more than their family normally see them. And you do think about them, you do care. You go to work and you say, how are you, etc. And you talk to them. Well, I do anyway. And we really value your support in this campaign. And it's nice to hear that you're an E2 member.
Thank you, Marianne. Thank you for that. Great. Shall we pop over to you, Vanessa? We got you, Vanessa.
Yep. Hello. Hi. My name is Vanessa Simpson. I'm a delegate for PSA. I'm a support worker based in the Canterbury region, and I've been a support worker for 2 years now, actually almost 2.5 years. So hi, Jan. I'm here today to ask for your support for an industry comprised of predominantly mature women in their 50s and upwards. The Support Workers Equity Pay Act needs to be extended urgently to encourage workers to stay in the industry. And we also need a near immediate increase to the in-between travel rates to cover the increased costs support workers in the community like me are paying each day to cover our petrol and travel costs. I'm a level 3 support worker, and I work indirectly for ACC and the DHB in homes, enabling people with a variety of health conditions to stay at home. I administer medications, I apply compression stockings, I complete security checks, I assist elderly people or people with injuries to shower safely, and I complete meal preparation and also assist with palliative care patients as well. Currently, it's really hard to attract people into the industry when it's more advantageous for qualified workers to work in rest homes or dementia care units. In the community, we're using our own vehicles and phones while we're carrying out our duties. And we would not incur petrol costs or mobile charges if we worked in care homes or villages. Right now, we have no visibility in terms of the pay increases we're likely to get in the future. To attract new staff and retain existing staff, the Equity Pay Act must be extended soon. In terms of our travel, all our trips under 15 kilometres between clients' houses are based on one rate. We're reimbursed for 3.7 kilometres at 58.5 cents per kilometre, and we're paid for 8 minutes of our time. This is regardless of the distance we travel. IRD actually recommends that we're reimbursed at a rate of 79 cents per kilometre for the use of our private vehicles on company business. Petrol price increases are hitting me and my colleagues hard, really hard actually. Every week we see the amount of our disposable income decrease as our petrol costs increase. Many colleagues have reported paying more than $30 a week extra in petrol. And some colleagues, are actually asking, borrowing money to be able to go to work. And it just doesn't seem fair that support workers who earn less than almost anyone else in the industry are the ones covering the increase in petrol costs. I'm actively starting to turn down work myself, which I would love to do, but it's because I don't want to subsidise my business or the government. I love this job. I get connection and I get a feeling that I'm contributing to society. I make a difference to people's health and well-being every day, and I know how important it is to keep people in their home. I can see there is economic benefit for the government in following this model. However, I do not believe it's right that support workers are covering the costs of doing business. It's not acceptable in any way or form to me. I'm turning down work that I really want to do, but I feel that I should on principle because I don't want to be made to donate my money to the government. And this is effectively what I feel my employer is asking me to do. Every time I drive and I don't get paid for my kilometres and I don't get paid for my time. I've lost colleagues almost every week recently to other sectors or jobs where they get paid for all their time that they're working and they get reimbursed adequately if they use their car for company business. Right now it's a job seekers market. And people will leave if something isn't done quickly. We need to act now to keep our current skilled, experienced workers and to attract new workers to provide quality care to clients. Extend the Pay Equity Act as soon as possible. Pay us at the IRD recommended rate for all the kilometres we drive and pay us for all the time we spend driving. So that's what I want to say. Thank you very much for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa. Great summary. We'll go over to you, Colleen. Very similar issues as a support worker, having worked for a whole number of companies. Colleen.
Hi Jan, I'm Colleen Frost. I'm an ETU delegate in Taranaki, and I'm also a community support worker level 3. And I've been doing this for 7 years, and I'm really passionate about caring for our most vulnerable in our community and helping them to live independently in their own homes, which relieves a lot of pressure on an already overburdened health system. And how it's affected me is that with the increases in 2017, it gave me financial security that up to that point I hadn't had, and it made me feel valued as a worker, that we're suddenly being recognised for the work we did and being paid certainly a lot better than we were before. So the care and support settlement pay equity has to be extended beyond the 1st of July, and we need you to support this. Otherwise, you will not attract new workers to this industry, and it's quite honestly, it's only paying workers fair pay that we should be getting anyway. So, and it feels really bad that we have to beg for something that the government should be willing to give us. You know, do they not have relatives or family members that are supported by people just like us? You know, are they going to take over the care and responsibility of looking after their family if no one else can do it? I thoroughly doubt it. And, you know, like as Vanessa was saying, IBT costs, you know, that's the petrol costs are horrendous. So at least a little bit of thing towards that is, at least if we get a bit of an increase, it's going to at least help. And we have got staff leaving, and attracting younger care and support workers is really difficult. So it would at least help, and hopefully it would also encourage the companies to train, providers to train a bit more, so that you are getting more skilled workers starting younger, rather than like a lot of us are probably in our 50s and that now, and it is going to be a problem down the track. And the gap between the minimum wage when it goes up in April is only going to be a 30-cent difference between the lowest rate, which is really, really horrible thought to think that there's so little value that it's acceptable for a 30-cent gap to be from someone who's getting the minimum wage and not making light of what other people do, but a lot of them aren't doing the healthcare work we're doing. And it would just be really nice to have the government say, we recognise what you do for the communities, and we think you should be paid accordingly. It would just be really lovely to see that that's how they thought of us. So
thank you, Colleen. Great messaging there. We've only got a couple of minutes left, so I really apologise. I think you got some of those key messages across, which is great. I'm just wondering, Robin, maybe you could introduce yourself and just really briefly, sorry, because I know that Jan does need to go. Could you, Robin, are you able to just briefly introduce yourself? Cool, thank you.
Hi, I can. Hi, my name is Robin, and I have worked as an HCA for 5 years. I work in a facility that has 87 beds and is a mix of rest home and hospital level care. One of our main problems at the moment is due to a shortage of RNs, HCAs are expected to fill the gap. We're being encouraged to become medication competent and then have the added responsibility of administering meds, doing OBS and wound dressings. We often have no RN on site. We have one on call. And this has meant a heavier load for all our HCAs, whatever their level of qualification is. I'd just like to say that we are looking after people who should be cared for by well-paid and professional staff. And I would agree that we need to have healthcare assisting as a viable career choice for people leaving school. We've had some fantastic girls that have come in, and they're absolutely fabulous at their job.
Thank you. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Robin. I'm just aware that Jan's got other commitments, and I just wondered if you'd like to sum up, Jan, from what you've heard. I'm just aware that you do need to go, if you'd like to.
Thanks, Jocelyn, and I'm really sorry that I do have to go, because I'm really enjoying just hearing that, because it's helpful for me to hear this for when I have discussions with my colleagues. And thank you so much, firstly, as I said to Michelle right at the beginning, for your passion. That goes unsaid, that you are amazing, and thank you not only for the work that you do, but the fact that you are fighting so hard for you and your colleagues as well. And I know that that sometimes can seem wrong, because I've done that before. You know, when I was a teacher, I had to fight really hard as a union activist, but people like you are the change makers. So thank you for being the change makers in what you're doing. I've taken some notes down here, and some of the things that I will be taking away talked about the woman-dominated workforces and encouraging more men. You know, we're doing the Women's Employment Action Plan and consulting on that at the moment and developing that. It's the first ever Women's Employment Action Plan. We're looking at reducing gender pay gap around that and ways that we can do that. And we talked about valuing the workforces and how we value the workforces that are dominated by women more. And you know, we give women the opportunity to get into male-dominated workforces, and just as much as we want to see that change, we also want to see the change of men coming into women-dominated workforces as well. So those are real actions that we're working on. And we want to look at how that precarious nature of work, which many of you know all too well, and sadly know all too well, how we can minimize that precarious nature of work. That's really important, because then unfortunately what has happened is that it's more women that are in those precarious job situations. We need to strengthen that. We need to stabilize those work areas, and then that's going to make a big difference to that reducing that gender pay gap. We've also got to value social infrastructure. So it's not just physical infrastructure that we need to value. We need to critically value the social infrastructure. And you work in a career, and it is a really critically important career that is within social infrastructure. So that is something that is really important to many of us. And that's I even had this conversation in the last day with my colleagues about how important that is. The education side of it, I found that really interesting, around talking around what needs to happen there. And I might come back to some of you to further that discussion a wee bit more, because that is part of the work that we are doing in the Women's Employment Action Plan. And I would love to get some further information around that and how that pertains to the work that you do. So I would like to continue that conversation on, because that is critically important. We need to make sure that education is there as a right. You know, that's something that you need to be able to bring up and to further you within that, because that's building career. That's building the career that you do into even a more professional career and more attractive to the younger people, as you talked about. Yes, we are going to need you and your colleagues more and more, because we do have an ageing population in this country, and we want to value our ageing population, and we want to make sure that the supports are there for them. And that means valuing you and the job that you do and putting you at the centre of what we do. I've always said, as a strong unionist, look after your workers, and your workers will look after you and everybody else. And we need to value you by looking after your workers. And I've taken some specialised notes there, Jocelyn. You'll be pleased to know we've talked before about the in-between travel costs, all of those areas. I've taken notes down to follow through on those areas as well. So can I say thank you very much, and thank you for your honesty and your openness. I'm always willing to talk to strong union activists like yourselves. I would love to, Jocelyn, set up another time some stage in the future and see how we're getting on, but there's always going to be things that we can all be doing better. So let's keep the conversation going.
Thank you. Really appreciate your time, and apologies, people, that we cut short. Happy International Women's Day. We'll pass over to you, Leslie, to close. Thank you.
Kia ora. Kia tātou katoa te ata whai o te tātou ariki a ihu karaiti, me te aroha o te atua, me te whiwhinga tahitanga ki te wairua tapu ake, āmeni.
Kia ora, thank you.